Hey everybody, and welcome to the 1218 show. My name is Mike Wilson. I am your host. We are back for another episode. This is kind of a thought episode. For those of you that don't know, I have a little side hustle and I walk dogs. And during the walking of the dogs, I have a lot of time to think. So, just something I've been thinking about recently, I thought I'd share with you on the podcast and give you something to ponder. Oftentimes when I'm walking these dogs, a car will go by and there'll be a song playing, or somebody will walk by and they'll have a specific perfume or cologne, and it occurred to me, like, it's amazing how many of these sounds and smells and even tastes or visuals take you back to a time and place. I'm often amazed at how something will trigger a specific memory or a specific moment in my life. And I'm pretty sure that's pretty common amongst everyone. And so I got to thinking a lot about it. What does it mean? Whatever. And of course, it makes you think of your own mortality, right? And what happens when you die and all that. And everyone has their theories. I have my own. None of which I'm going to push. It's a personal thing with every other specific person. But I wanted to throw a what if out there just to, and you'll see how it ties back in. So, we all hope or think that, or we all hope that, or understand that there's a possibility that maybe once we die we move on to the afterlife, whatever that may be, heaven, hell, I mean, you name it. Traveling spirit, whatever, be a ghost like the TV show. There's all kinds of theories, possibilities, things out there that people contemplate. And I think that everybody probably in their life has contemplated their own mortality and afterlife and what it means. So, but this specific one, I wanted to address just because it obviously has probably crossed all of our minds as well. And that is, what if that's just it? What if it goes black and you don't even know that you're dead? It's like turning off the TV or turning off your computer. It's just once you go, once your life is over, once your heart stops pumping and the blood stops hitting your brain, it's just, that's it. So nothing happens after. So you don't even know that you're dead, and essentially your life and spirit moves on in the people that you've touched in your life, your loved ones, your children, your wives, your significant others, your husbands, if you're a public personality in the songs that you've sung, or the movies that you made, or even if you're a pastor or a preacher or whatever, like, what have you done to affect people so that your memory, not your personal memory, but the memory of you, lives on, and people have hopefully pulled good from your life, learned from it in one way or another, and moved on and felt love or felt compassion or whatever the case may be, so your afterlife is actually the life that has been carried on through the people that you've touched. And again, this is not specific. This is not necessarily my thought. It's just something I've been thinking about recently. So again, I'm very aware that there are many possibilities and open to it. But that brought me to think of, okay, let's say that this is life. Let's say that this 80 years, or give or take, whatever you're on this planet for, is the time that you have. And so this kind of plays into my time episodes, but this one's going to be life. This one's going to be called life. So what is your life? And I find that, okay, so we all think that the longer, or we all kind of realize that the older you get, the faster time seems to go. And my theory on that is that when you're younger, there's so many new things, right? You meet new people, it's interesting, you meet them. You learn something new, you learn a new trick, you play a new game, you do this, you do that. And the older you get, those things, time seems to go faster because you're doing the same shit that you've always done. Okay, so those moments don't hold relevance in your life. If you've had the same job, say for 30 years, when you go to work, outside of maybe a funny joke that somebody tells you that day or something different, it's usually just the same mundane thing that you do every day. People have children and they live their lives through their children. That's what kind of keeps it fresh and new, because they're kind of reliving a childhood through their child. Like, as every time their child discovers something new, learns a new thing, says a new word, does whatever, those are moments that you get to live with them, and they're kind of fun, the defining moments, and so whatever. But in your own specific life, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what are you doing right now? Okay, because the truth is, it could end right now. Okay, are you driving in your car listening to this? Are you sitting at home on your computer watching this on YouTube? Are you at work and you're doing your mundane thing, but you get to listen to a podcast while you're these kinds of things? So what are you doing right now? I want you to take a moment and think about the smell in the air around you. Okay, even in your car. Do you have the windows down? Is it a little warmer where you are? Is there a smell of fresh air or fresh gas? Are you close to Ohio? Do you smell burning chemicals? It could be. Are you close to the ocean? Can you smell the ocean? You don't really realize that those things are planting in your brain. But years down the road, you might, let's say you move away, let's say you live by the ocean and you're used to smelling the salt, the air coming off the ocean. And years down the road, you're doing something else, or maybe you move away, and so when you go back to visit where you live now, or smell an ocean again, it takes you back to driving home from work in your car, or the bike ride that you took, or playing on the beach, whatever that ocean smell does, whatever that triggers. Whatever you're doing right now, a smell and a sound takes you there. So a sound is a perfect one. I mean, how many of us, if you went to college, or it doesn't have to be specifically college, but let's say your early 20s, I would say that the majority of the songs that most of us like, that we prefer to listen to, are the songs that were happening when we were, between the ages of 15 and 30 years old. That 15-year period seems to be what registers the most when it comes to taking a song, and you hear it and you think, oh man, that was great. I remember, I was hanging out with my buddies doing this, or I was, dating this girl, or even a specific moment. Like, I remember the first time I ever kissed her. That was the song that was playing. And you hear that song and it just takes you there instantly. So what song did you just hear today? What song are you listening to? You might not even I don't think that we really realize that those moments are registering as our mind, and then later we get the recall on them, whatever that may be. So what are you doing right now? And my point is, a lot of people, they get 1 week or 2 weeks vacation, or they can only afford to go on one vacation a year, or whatever. And I'm certainly no stranger to not being able to go on vacation financially. So, but people look forward to that, and they'll burn 51 weeks a year at work looking forward to that one vacation. They go, they run themselves ragged doing as much as they can in the 1 week, they come back home and they go back to work to do it all again for 51 weeks or 50 weeks to have another vacation. And in their mind, they're thinking, well, this is what I'm doing, it's all worth it for that 1 week of family time, but you've forgotten that all the time in between is registering in some way or another. If I hear a song now, there's a few songs that'll kick in, and it instantly takes me to the summer of 2020, which is only 3 years ago, I know, but that was a summer when we were all locked down, and there was all kinds of crazy shit going on in the news and whatever, and there's songs that will take me right there, and I remember that summer. Crazily enough, as terrible and awful as I think that the way that things went down with that whole thing, with COVID and the lockdowns and all that, I don't agree with any of it. I really enjoyed the summer because there was nothing I could do. I had time. I had free time. So every day I would walk over to Central Park. I'd go for a run. There was songs that I'd listen to. I'd play games with my nephews and nieces on the Xbox. Maybe I could have been more productive. I should have been more productive. I should have started my podcast during that time. I didn't know how to do it, or it hadn't even really crossed my mind. But what are you doing right now? Right, like literally this instant. Besides listening to me, take in the smell, take in the song, and love it. Even if you're driving home from work, or even if you're at work, whatever the thing that you're doing is, you're gonna remember those are good times. I remember when I worked at a grocery store. There are songs, moments there. Now, working at a grocery store is not a fun job, okay? It's just not. You make it fun, just like every job. You get to know your coworkers, you joke, you cut it up. But the fact is, you're standing in the same place for 8 hours, either refilling produce or checking out groceries at the register, or working in the dairy cooler, freezing your butt off. Whatever your jobs were. But there are songs and smells, and sights even, that take me back to those moments. And I remember thinking, and I remember at the time, those weren't significant moments, and I certainly wouldn't want to do them again, because it was work, and it was crappy work, but they were good times, and you don't really realize that they were good times until it's all gone. Even the bad times in your life, even the struggles and the hard stuff, there will be stuff that when there's a loved one that's lost, or when these things happen, or you break a leg, or whatever the case may be. When those things happen, they're so awful at the time, but things are happening around you that are going to enter your mind, your smells, your sights, your sounds, that years down the road you'll look back on that and be like, wow, I can't believe that reminds me of that summer that I did this or lost that or whatever, and then you'll appreciate them more at that point, looking back, say, wow, I can't believe I got through that. That was a wild time, or that was a wild moment. So I've been trying to appreciate every single moment, no matter what it is. Every time you get to have a dinner with a loved one, every time you get to talk to somebody on the phone, all of these things add up to a life. And don't put it off. If you've got something that you want to do, or somebody that you want to talk to, or whatever, just do it, because why not? And because that's another moment in your life that can grow on to become more of your life. So I don't know. I guess this is, I don't want to say it's the meaning of life, but I think that life is really about all of it, right? When you're so tired that you can't wait to fall asleep, and then when you wake up in the morning and you either hate the alarm, or it's a Sunday and you didn't have to set the alarm, so you wake up when you want to wake up, and then you have a cup of coffee. The smell of a cup of coffee, what does that take you to? I think that most people associate it with something. I know that there are the specific smell of a cup of coffee when it's being brewed or trickling into the coffee cup, can instantly takes me to a couple of different places. Usually my father's kitchen, because he had a cup of coffee every morning. But it also, my grandmother always had a cup of coffee brewing. My great grandmother, I should say. My mom was a coffee drinker as well. My mom was a smoker when I was a kid, and smoking is kind of you don't see much of it anymore, out here. And so now when on the occasion when I get a whiff of a cigarette, it takes me to some memories of my childhood or whatever. And I'm not promoting smoking. I don't want, but it is interesting because those were good times, and they were just associated with a smell. And so these kinds, everything that is going on in your life, take the moment and enjoy it, because you're going to recall it one day and be like, wow, I was younger then. And believe me, if you're younger and listening to this, you're always going to wish you were younger. Once you get past, say, 30 years old, you're going to wish you were in your 20s again. there's great things about being in the 30s, great things about being in the 40s. I think that primarily you're going to always want to be in your 20s because A, you wish you knew then what you knew now, and B, you didn't understand how physically able you were to do anything you wanted to do. You know, jump off a ramp on a bicycle, run down a hill, do these kinds of things that you don't really realize slowly deteriorate and go away, and suddenly you're like, man, I can't run I can't snowboard like I used to snow. I wouldn't dare, go off of a 3-foot jump on a bicycle right now. You're just asking to go to the hospital. But when you're a kid, you just do it because it's fun and you figure it out. And if you break an arm or a wrist or whatever, the consequences. It heals up quick and you just move on. But as you get older, things aren't as what's the word? You just can't do the things that you used to do. A lot of it's, due to strength and speed and reflexes. Reflexes are a big one. I've noticed that my reflexes just are not what they used to be, and that sucks. That's why baseball players can't play into their 40s. I mean, swinging a bat is about reflexes, right? It's about your brain telling your body to do something, your body reacting in a flash. And as you get older, you just cannot move at those speeds, and you appreciate those. But let's say you're a professional baseball player. You don't realize that every time you walk out onto the grass that maybe there's that whiff of a hot dog stand, or the smell of beer or stale beer, or the sound of whistles, and whatever the case may be, just the sound of a humming crowd. And I bet you that if you ask a professional baseball player when, that's say 20 years retired, if they walk into a stadium, when that hot dog smell hits them, if it takes them right back to the field, I bet you it does. And that's an extreme example. Not a lot of professional baseball players out there, but you get my point. I just think that you should really, really enjoy all of the things that are entering your mind, even when you're not even realizing it. If you're driving home from work and you're thinking about the work day and what you got to do that night with the wife and the kids and the cleaning the house and doing all that crap, but there's a song on the radio and the window's down and I don't know, the air freshener that you have in the car, and you get a little whiff of all of it all mixed up into one, and someday down the road that particular concoction happens again and it's going to take you there, and you're going to be like, wow, that takes you to a time, and that's the memories of your life or what it's all about, right? So anyway, just an interesting thought process I had. I thought I'd share it. It's been a wild few weeks, so I know that I'm a little behind on my podcast, but I appreciate you listening. So thank you for your time. I hope that gives you something to think about, and I hope you're enjoying the moments, all of them, the good ones, the bad ones, and everything in between. It means a lot to you, even though you don't realize it. Down the road, you're going to realize, you're going to be thankful that you have those triggers that created those memories in your life. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon. And spring is knocking on the door, so let's look forward to that. Let's get in shape and get outside and spend as much time with the sun and the birds and the animals as we can. All right, guys, take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.